All right, the world is on edge. The world is watching the Ukraine-Russia conflict escalating, with Ukraine this morning declaring a nationwide state of emergency.
They chose to invade a sovereign, independent nation. Russia needs to stand down. It needs to understand that there are consequences.
These reckless and dangerous acts that will endanger the lives of innocent citizens will not go unpunished.
The Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister announcing sanctions on Russia, including banning financial dealings in 2 rebel-held eastern regions. Canada also sending hundreds of more troops to Latvia. Ukraine's defense minister sharing this video on Twitter showing the arrival of defense weapons from Canada. And the Prime Minister today will be meeting with the Incident Response Group and attend the Ukrainian Canadian Congress board meeting. So let's get reaction to all of this morning from the Ukrainian Canadian community. I'm now joined by CEO of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Ihor Michalchyshyn in Ottawa. Good morning to you, Ihor.
Good morning.
I first want to begin here. As noted, the Prime Minister will be attending this board meeting, which indeed you will be in attendance at. Can you explain what will be happening today? What will be on the agenda?
We're hoping to hear from the Prime Minister about further details on the Canadian sanctions and the Canadian actions to support Ukraine. We know that there'll be a number of cabinet ministers there as well, and we will have a dialogue with them on our what we're hearing, our proposals for the future in terms of the next steps of what Canada can continue to do in the future. And then we are unfortunately starting to think and talk seriously about the worst case scenarios where a further full-scale invasion impacts civilians in Ukraine and what Canada's role would be in that humanitarian crisis.
Let's look at what has been announced thus far. So Trudeau has said that he believes these measures that were announced yesterday will be effective. Do you agree?
We think it's very effective that Canada, again, the EU, Japan, the United States, they've all coordinated these sanctions, which is unprecedented. And it's intended to really cripple the Russian economy. The point being to stop Putin from financing this kind of ongoing war. It's very expensive for him to have 200,000 troops out. It's been weeks and perhaps even months that he's had these military exercises going. So we think coordinated sanctions are good. We do think that, it was announced yesterday, this is the first round. We need more heavy sanctions. Putin is not engaging in real diplomacy, and he needs to see that the West is very serious and will hit him hard and sort of cripple his economy.
2 regions internationally recognized as Ukrainian territory, and then Russia bringing in what they are calling peacekeepers. When you hear that term, peacekeepers, going into these regions, what are your thoughts?
That's a disgusting twist of the terminology, especially for us as Canadians who are very proud of the legacy of peacekeeping. These are not peacekeepers. These are Russian combat troops who are going in to settle into positions, and they are going to attack further, unfortunately. I mean, we have seen media coverage where, in the last couple of days where, thousands and thousands of Russian artillery positions and tanks are moving in. They are not going to stop at the so-called borders that they're in. They now, they're now talking about they want the whole, regional border, and they're going to go into Ukraine. Putin laid out very clearly in his crazy speech from the weekend about how, his worldview of Ukraine not existing legitimately, and that gives him the right to redraw borders that he doesn't like.
Ihor, what is your biggest fear as we look at these visuals, as we talk about worst case scenario?
The worst case scenario is a very devastating war in which millions of people are killed and injured, and a war on the scale of World War II, which we haven't seen in decades. And that is a terrifying scenario for us as Canadians, for the world. Russia is a nuclear power, and Ukraine is a country of 40 million people in a compact area, and the civilian casualties would be immense and devastating, and none of us should want to see any of that happen. But on the other hand, we cannot continue to hand over territory to Russia. The West needs to stand up to him to support Ukraine at this point. I mean, Ukraine is not is not asking for Canada or the US or NATO to send troops, but Ukraine is asking for more defensive weapons, like what we've just seen from Canada. We need to send more. We need to help Ukraine defend themselves. That ultimately will stop Putin. If Putin understands that he cannot invade Ukraine without heavy losses, he will potentially back down.
These are the visuals that you are seeing here that you just spoke of. Ihor Michalchyshyn, live in Ottawa. We thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.